Hey Peggy, hey you guys, come on in. Hammer this out a little bit early today. I know I sprung it on some of you. Rocking to some Red Rocks worship. Broken. Listen, this is so great. You're in. What, Kendra, you got there? Rhode Island. Well, hey, Mars. Here it goes. Here it is. Gotta be all happy when you do it. Oh, it's good. Come on in. Tell your peeps. We're gonna talk about some hormones up in her. Not necessarily her. I mean, it could be him. You know what I'm saying? But oh, jamming. Beet juice. Hi, Frisco. Evil hormones. No, they're awesome. Sins of man. Come on. I know. Hey, Daryl. Kind of breaking it down a little bit, man. It goes again. If you guys, hey, Daryl, say something again. There he is. A Jordan right there. A Daryl Jordan Music. You guys follow that guy. He is my black brother from another mother. Love that guy. He's got a lot to say, and you guys need to hear it. Oh. Right? That's right. Rocking it. Okay. Enough of that. My greens are about to tune out. You know, with Ellie and I, my 5-year-old, will I be singing like that at convention? Man, you know it. Don't even tip me, because then, you know, corporate may not bring me in. If they think I'm going to sing, they may not bring me in. So I don't know. All right, here we go. So we're going to talk about hormones. We're going to talk about the way that the hormones are produced. We're going to talk about the way that it works in the body. And I'm going to do this all in under 30 minutes because I've got a phone consult I want to do to help somebody with this very thing. So let's talk about how it functions. I'm not going to answer a lot of questions as I go because I want to get you the information. If you're new to my scopes and you have no idea who this short, loud dude is on Periscope, I'm Dr. Jim Bob Hagerton. I'm a chiropractor from Texas, and my passion is in function and seeing you guys live to your full potential, and in teaching you that the body was created for perfect. You're created for more. Like, you're created for function. You're created for incredibleness, okay? Like, the Father didn't create you for PCOS. He didn't create you for estrogen dominance. But those things can happen. Hey, Adrian from Georgia. Those things can happen when we don't understand how the body works and we don't take care of ourselves well. I mean, it's a natural byproduct of it that can create symptoms, and I'm going to explain it. So here's all my other contact stuff on social media. If you can see that, go ahead and look at that. Follow me on Facebook. You can see awesome pictures of my gorgeous kids. I put all the videos to YouTube after this. And so you can go back, watch old videos on YouTube. You can get to the YouTube channel on our website, family-wellness.com, see old blogs, all that goodness there. All right, disclaimer, okay? Disclaimer, I'm not here to diagnose you. And so on this scope today, what I am not going to do is I'm not going to answer direct questions for you on your thing and tell you things to do to fix it. I'm going to tell you how they work and how they get messed up, okay? We'll talk about supporting systems later on and different things to do with those specific systems that are involved. But that's how today's going to roll. So do not get offended, please, if I don't answer your question. That way, I'm gonna go through this, get you the information. I promise, we'll teach you more stuff. Just be patient on it, and we'll totally rock this. Hi, Hope, McKenna family, we got this. Okay. Dylan, everybody, if you're watching this on replay, thank you so much for watching replay. I mean, it really blows me away that so many people will sit for so long and listen to me talk. I mean, my whole family doesn't sit here and listen to me talk that much. I mean, you guys are awesome. They're like, wah, wah, dad. And Cindy's like, seriously? We've been talking for like 20, 30 minutes. We're done. We're done, right? So, yeah, I want to give you guys hope. I want to give you guys truth and information. And I want to be able to show you guys that your body was created for amazing function. And if you can figure out how to help that happen, and you can figure out how to feed the body and how to assist on those systems that are designed to do this, then you can achieve the things that the Lord wants you to do. Because if you're not healthy, if you're not walking out the wellness part of wellness, purpose, and abundance, if you're not walking out wellness, then there is no way you can get to purpose. Wellness precedes purpose and abundance. Now, do the other two affect your wellness? Absolutely. But wellness precedes the other two, because you may get to purpose, you may get to abundance. But if you get to abundance and you don't have wellness, then you're spending a lot of money keeping yourself well. If you're not able to enjoy it, you're not able to really press into your family. So let's get started, shall we? All right, hormones. The hormones, how are they produced? And what do they do? Like how do problems arise when they don't work? Like, what do each of the hormones do? Now, I think what I'm going to do to make this a little bit more applicable, because this is going to be an overall, can hormones affect your heart? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay? Very much so. I think the way to make this like a lot more chewable is I'm going to do an overview on this. I'm going to teach you how the hormones are actually produced in the body, so you understand the process first. Then I'll come back and I'll do a series of videos and I'll teach you on each individual hormone and what it does. Does that make sense? Would that be helpful? Because I think that way you're not overwhelmed in one big video and they're little bitty individual videos. If that would be helpful, yes, is that more helpful? And I'll talk about the individual hormones. Ashley, does that help you? Okay, good. Then I thought about that. I've been really praying through how to make it more shareable and more useful for y'all, and so we'll do it. For those of you on YouTube, this is a live video recording that I'm in with a bunch of my good friends, and so if I'm talking to people on here, don't freak out. I am crazy, but I mean, I'm not that crazy. So, all right, so what we'll do is we'll talk about overall production. Next videos, I'm going to start hitting individual hormones. I'll go through, not every single one, but the main ones. We'll go through each individual hormone and where it's produced so that you can understand. Yeah, Jen, we're good friends, you can understand, and then you can start going, oh, that makes sense, because then you can give yourself and other people more grace on understanding why things are happening, okay? All right, so let's do it. So let's talk about the steps to hormone production, okay? Steps to hormone production. When you understand the steps, you can understand the steps back to figuring out how to create better function and healing, okay? And so again, we're not going to talk about specific products today, none of that. We're just going to talk on function and how the hormones are produced and really what happens in the body. So we're going to go through, I'm going to give you, I think I've got 5 steps in here. Yes, 5 steps that I've broken it down to, the 5 steps to hormone production and kind of the turning point of what the hormones do in the body. Then we'll get into, thank you Brandy for sharing, Brandy Seago rocks. Then we're going to get into individual hormones as we go. Like not today, but each day we'll go over a different hormone so that I can get through these so you can understand individually what they do, because each hormone has enough things that they do that they deserve to have their own video, so we'll do that. I think it's a lot easier that way. All right, so the number one step to hormone production, and the 2 first steps to hormone production actually start, you may not know this, actually start in your brain. Did you realize, did you know, and you don't lie and say, yeah, I knew, but you heard me say it. Did you know that all of the hormones that are produced in your body start production in your brain? Did you know this? I want you to put a number 1 or a yes if you knew this. Nope, I know, I'm going to teach you this because this is very important. All hormone production starts in the brain, not in the body. But with traditional treatments, you treat the body. You're not starting in the brain, okay? So I'm going to talk about, yes, I can totally talk about the HPA axis on another one, absolutely. So my geeks and freaks like me will get into that because that is a huge topic. Okay, so here we go. All hormone production starts in the brain. There's 2 organs that are in your brain, in the center of the brain, right in the middle of the limbic system, that are responsible for the stimulation and the release of every hormone in your body. Every one starts in the brain. Watch this. Step number 1 on hormone production. Step number 1 on hormone production is an organ called the hypothalamus. Okay? The organ called the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is found in your brain. In your brain, you are a freaking geek like me. It's awesome. And I love it. It's found in your brain, and is responsible for releasing factors. Remember this. I'm going to keep it simple for you. We'll get more in depth as we go. Don't stress out. But for those of you that are already stressed out, just look at this and really get the overall concept. Releasing factors. Now, what does that mean? Well, the hypothalamus is the starting point, and what it does, the hypothalamus sends, it's like a 3-step process, it's like 3 different security measures for you to be able to produce hormones and all. So step 1, the hypothalamus that is in your brain, okay, sends a releasing factor out to stimulate the next step, to stimulate the next organ to produce factors for hormone production. So there's releasing factors. Human growth hormone releasing factor, thyroid stimulating releasing factor, adrenocorticotropic releasing hormone. Like, there's releasing factors in the hypothalamus. They don't produce the hormone, they produce the starting point to get the hormone released and produced. Okay? Step 1, releasing factors, hypothalamus. Okay? Step 2 in this process, still in the brain. We haven't even got out half of the steps. 2 out of 5 steps. 2 out of 5 steps are not even in the body. They are in the brain. Okay? We haven't even got into the body yet. Step 2 in hormone production, the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, also found in your brain, in your melon. It's responsible for stimulating factors. Okay? Stimulating factors, a little bit different than the hypothalamus. And it stimulates production of hormones from the different organs in the body. Okay? So again, hypothalamus sends a releasing factor, and it literally goes like this. Hypothalamus is like, hey, pituitary gland. You're like standing there, they're like standing around, just like chilling. It's like, hey, pituitary, we need some estrogen up in her. We need some estrogen. And the pituitary gland's like, oh, really? Oh, well, I got you, man. Fist bump, elbow bump, chest bump, and it sends a stimulating factor down to create the release of the hormone. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, ACTH, thyroid stimulating hormone, prolactin, oxytocin, all of these things, okay? All of these things are released and stimulated by the pituitary gland. Now, if you do not have a pituitary gland, that is a problem, but your body is amazing, and so that is a phone consult thing. You're going to have to call me about that. And that is the thing. Like, if you guys need help with this, like, I can't help you on here, but I can. The gland is right in the middle of the brain, Marcy. Like, it's like straight through the middle, in the middle of your limbic system, okay? Yeah, it's so good to support the pituitary gland. Yes. Now, if you need help with hormone balancing and you need me to walk you through it, I do phone consults for people every single day all over the world. And I love that. I mean, it's another way for me to really dig in with you guys and walk you through the process. I know I've done phone consults for several of you guys on here. Let me know. I'll totally do that. I can totally do that for you. And I've got a whole process. My team will help you for that. Okay. Now, let's go through. I'll talk about supporting the systems in another one. We got to do that a little bit different. Okay. And so what we're going to get through is let's get through function first. Then on other videos, we're going to get into that. Okay. All right. Now, we talked about the pituitary gland. Now, here's one that I want you to really pay attention to. The pituitary gland is literally responsible for about 8 different hormones, okay? It's the production and release of 8 different hormones overall. The thyroid gland, when you look at it, the thyroid gland really only creates 2 things, T3, T4. There's only 2 hormones produced in the thyroid gland. So how much more epic is it to make sure that the pituitary gland in the brain is healthy, happy, and whole, instead of overstimulating and overfiring the thyroid gland, right? And overfiring the thyroid gland when that's not even really responsible for that many things, but it's overtreated. Like, you treat the thyroid, they treat the adrenals, they treat all this stuff, they do all this hormone replacement therapy without going back to the source of where it's all produced. Now, here's another link in the chain. I'm going to grab a mic on this because this is pretty epic, and I want you to understand this. Where the hypothalamus and where the pituitary is in the brain, where that spot in the brain is, there is another organ right next to it. There's another organ right next to those 2 organs called the amygdala. For those of you who have done classes with me that have learned on emotions, you know and you remember that the amygdala is the seat and is responsible for the processing of all of your emotions. It is the deepest center in the brain. Well, that's weird. So you mean to tell me, hold on, let me make sure the mic's on. Hello, check, 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 1, 2. You mean to tell me that the organ responsible for all of my hormone or all of my my emotional processing literally sits right up next to the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus? Huh. So my emotions and taking care of my emotions could totally affect my hormones? Foshizzle. Yes. Drop the mic. Okay. Your emotions and the mental and emotional stuff is vital for the health of your hormonal system. Vital. So, you know, if I have somebody that comes in and they're wanting to balance out hormones and they're working on the hormonal system and their brain is a mess and their emotional centers are a mess, I don't even touch the hormones until we handle their brain. Like, if you've got issues with negativity, you've got issues with bitterness, with anger, hear me on this. And you've got issues in those centers, and it's firing that amygdala, and you're creating so much stress in the middle of your brain, and your limbic system is stressed the heck out. Your hormones are going to respond to that. It's going to affect the organs at the start point of all of the hormonal system. All. Okay? So that's big, 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 big. All right, we're doing good on time. I got to keep on time here. I got an appointment. Okay? All right, so here we go. Step 3 in the hormone production pathway. We're out of the brain now. We've dropped down below the neck. Okay? Everything goes back to emotions. Because why, Amy? Everything in the body, everything starts with a thought. Everything starts with a thought. Age always plays a role. Absolutely, Jane. It just means that different hormones get affected, different organs work better or not, depending on age. It's totally, yes. But everything in the body starts with a thought. Thoughts precede beliefs. Beliefs precede actions. Actions create habits, create symptoms, create patterns, create problems. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, that's why it says to take every thought captive and to really gauge if that thought is giving you life or death. Is it going to help your hormones or not? Because it really will affect it. And you show me one female, right? You show me one female that is unhappy and has bitterness, or it's in a bad relationship where there's a lot of unhappiness that doesn't also have menstrual disorder or hormone imbalance. Show me one. I've hardly ever met one woman who is in a stressful, unhappy situation that is not also experiencing hormonal problems. But you know what they say? Man, my hormones are so messed up, it's making me unhappy. No, it's backwards. You got to work on both. Backwards. You work on that emotion and work on that happiness and that joy and that peace, and then you balance out the hormones and they'll balance out together. You understand? Understand where I'm at with that? So, super huge. You cannot disconnect them because the organs to produce them sit next to each other. Like if this is the pituitary gland, look it up. Look it up. Say pituitary like anatomy. Right next to it is the amygdala, touching, okay? Touching it, all right? Super huge. All right, third step in the hormone release pathway is the endocrine system. So again, hypothalamus, pituitary is a part of the endocrine system, but the other two organs that are responsible in this pathway is the thyroid and the adrenal glands. Okay, so the thyroid and the adrenal glands is step 3. Thyroid produces T3 and T4, triiodoxine and thyroxine, and there's 2 hormones. The adrenal glands are different. The adrenal glands have 2 layers to them. I've talked about the adrenal support. Remember, there's 2 layers. There's the middle of the gland that produces norepinephrine and epinephrine, which is why you're like, oh man, I'm going to go run a mile because I'm all stressed out. I need to do stuff. I need to break something. You know, you feel like really amped up. That's the epinephrine and norepinephrine. But yes, what you just said, in the outer ring of the adrenal glands, they produce cortisol, which is a hormone that is designed to give you blood sugar, like to release sugar, so that you can have fuel to be able to fight or flight. But the other things that are produced in the outer ring of the adrenal glands, you ready for this? Watch. Progesterone, pregnenolone, estrogen, DHEA, testosterone. All of those are produced in the adrenal glands as well as other organs in the body. And it's designed as a balancing organ. It's designed as a regulatory organ. Okay, so step 3, we're going 1 step down. So we were at the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is like, yo, pituitary, you need to release some stimulating factors. I'm releasing you to go do your job. The pituitary gland goes, sure thing, man. Fist bump, elbow bump. I can stimulate those hormones to be produced. Let's do this. We got this. Teamwork, go. They send stimulating factors down, and then the pituitary gland tells the thyroid, it tells the adrenal glands, it tells the ovaries, the testicles to do their job. It tells them to produce the hormone. Okay? You'll see where the hierarchy of this starts to happen and where it trickles down. Okay, so step 3, endocrine, thyroid, adrenals. Step 4, the next level of where all the hormones goes, step 4 is the sex hormone production. So step 4, ovaries, testicles, adrenal glands, placenta, uterus, those organs, okay, those organs here, right? Those organs here are responsible for producing the different sex hormones in the body. But they can't do that. They can't do that until they are told to do it, until they get permission and they get stimulated by the pituitary gland. So in order to produce estrogen, I didn't write all of them down here. There's a lot, just basic ones. In order for your ovaries to produce estrogen, and in order for them to produce it on time and correctly, they have to get a signal from the pituitary gland in order to do it. Okay? Vitally important. Oh man, right, Lisa? Like Lisa and I have been sitting down and talking about how amazing God is and how incredible our bodies are. And it is fascinating. It's not frustrating. It's fascinating. It's frustrating when things go wrong because you know how well you can be and you know what your potential can be. But it's fascinating and it is just incredible. Okay? If there's only one ovary, that's a good question. What ends up happening is that other one will take over. But remember, normally with the ovaries, they fire every other month. They still fire the hormone, but it's just like one ovary, you get ovulation every other month usually, like they alternate months. But one ovary will start to take over function. It's just a lot more stress, but your body can still take up and can do the extra. Normally in that situation though, the adrenal glands start to create more of the stress of the sex hormones in order to try to make it balance, okay? All right, number 5, the last step in hormone production and regulation, the last step that's very important, okay, the last step is this one. It's called negative feedback loop, okay? Negative feedback loop. So this is the shutoff. This is the shutoff in your body to allow your pituitary gland and the hypothalamus, for that matter, to know when your body has had enough, okay? Pituitary gland. Here's what happens. Pituitary sends a signal down. Hey, ovary, we need estrogen. It's the start of the cycle. It's day 2. Get up, wake up, send out some estrogen. The ovaries are like, okay, we got it. They release estrogen, okay? They release estrogen, and once the tissues in the body, once your system has had enough, if it can really gauge it, if your body is healthy enough to feel when it's had enough, or if the organ's actually producing enough, once there is enough hormone, it's like, it puts it out there, and it's like, okay, we're good. Sends a signal back. The ovary should send a negative feedback loop signal back up to the pituitary gland and go, hey, we're good. Shut off the signal. And it stops sending the signal down so that you don't overproduce the hormone. Okay? Now, that's what's supposed to happen. That's the way the body's designed. It's this perfected, amazing, incredible system to allow you to produce the hormones that you need and to allow you to turn them off. The body is exquisitely, perfectly created. It's unbelievably designed for perfection and function. Okay? Right. Sometimes they forget to holler. That's right, Lisa. Okay, so let's talk about that. What goes wrong? Like, why do we have these problems? And what goes wrong? What creates all these symptoms and stuff? Okay? Well, there's a lot of things that can happen. When you have stress going on in the middle of your brain and you're amping up function in that amygdala, that organ that handles all your emotion, it can affect the pituitary gland. It can affect the signaling of the hormones up front. So let's say that you create hyperactivity or overproduction of the stimulating factors in your brain, in the pituitary gland. Well, then it's like ovary, estrogen. And it can create an overproduction because of overstimulation from the brain so that the organs are producing way too much. So what happens if you get an estrogen dominant scenario? What happens if the estrogen gets really high? Well, high estrogen, watch this, listen to this, high estrogen will create things like PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, fertility issues, dysmenorrhea, amenorrhea, problems with menopause, meaning the hot flashes and stuff getting in because the estrogen was so high it'll burn things out, inflammation in the body, increases fibromyalgia symptoms because of the inflammation pathway that estrogen fires. On and on and on. You see what I'm saying? Like when it gets really out of bounds. Okay, so that's one scenario. You get too much production. What happens if you get too little? What happens if you get too little just from the brain, just from that organ? Well, if you're not getting stimulated enough, even when you get into a situation where you need the hormone, then you can't produce enough of what you need. So let's say, for example, still talking about a female, let's say that she's not getting enough stimulating factor from those organs in her brain. Then what happens is when they do need it, there's just not a stimulating factor. And again, the organs are not going to do anything until they're told. So now you get into the first half of your cycle, or you get into the second half or whatever. And let's say you get into the second half of your cycle and you're needing progesterone in order to stabilize the lining of the uterus or in order to create a sloughing effect, because the second half of your cycle is the sloughing phase to be able to get rid of the extra tissue. Okay? Well, if you're not getting enough of the signal, then the second half of your cycle comes in. You're like, we need progesterone. Nothing, because nothing was actually released. Nothing was actually told to release. So then, if you're too low in progesterone, it creates relative estrogen dominance. Now you've got an estrogen dominance issue for a totally different thing. You see how this is working? Now let's do another thing. Here's another scenario. Your signaling for the brain is correct. Your pituitary gland is working well. You're even handling stress decent, compared to most people. But now you have a problem with either the thyroid, a problem with the adrenal glands, maybe a problem with the ovaries. And when you have a problem with that organ, you can have a problem where you're not producing enough of the hormone in that organ because there's damage there or there's stress there or whatever's happened, right? So the pituitary gland would send a signal to your thyroid, right? But the thyroid doesn't produce anything. So it's like knocking on a door, but no one answers the door. Hello? We need some T3. Hello? And nothing happens. Okay? And the thyroid gland's like, there's nobody home, and it doesn't even go to the door. Okay? And so the thyroid gland literally just does not produce anything. And so you can have like hypothyroid because you're not producing enough thyroid hormone because it's a glandular issue. But it could be because that pituitary didn't tell it to do it enough. Okay, that's step 3. Now, step 4, like the last phase of what can happen in a hormone imbalance issue, and I'm almost done here, is if you're getting the correct signaling, the organs are producing the hormone the way that they really should, but your body, the tissue loading is what it's called, your body isn't communicating back well to your system. Your body isn't telling the organs when it's had enough. It hasn't told them that it's had enough. So then what ends up happening is it keeps producing, and it produces way too many hormones, and you've got hormones all over the place because there has not been a negative feedback loop to the brain to turn off the water flow, to turn off the hormone flood, to turn off the faucet, okay? You got to turn off the faucet. If not, you're going to flood the flower bed. But you see the visual of that? The faucet, when you turn off the faucet, that's the pituitary gland, that's the brain. If you're watering a flower bed and you look over there and the flower bed is starting to glisten, you've got enough water. Well, if you just don't do anything, or you try to put a rock in front of the water hose or something, it still gets water everybody. It still gets water all over that flower bed. It's going to flood it. So you've got to do a negative feedback loop. You've got to walk back to the faucet and turn the faucet off so that the water quits running. Do you understand? And so that's what happens. But you can't complain about, like, you're trying to water your flower bed and you put the hose there and you're like trying to water it, but you never turn on the faucet, and you get so upset that now you keep bringing buckets of water to the flower bed and you're carrying them from the water store. And so you're trying to water your flower bed with water that you didn't produce. What happens if you stop bringing buckets? Nothing. You don't bring any water. That flower bed will dry up. Those flowers are going to die. So this hormone replacement therapy and stuff like that you're doing to produce the hormone, but you're not doing it yourself, if you ever stop it, it's never going to totally fix, right? It's never going to fix. Okay, and so ask me a couple questions, but I'm not going to answer something that is not compliant. Yep, 17-year-old PCOS, it happens. Bioidentical hormones, they're not your natural hormone, so it's still not the best idea, but bioidentical is the best option. My dad sure wouldn't appreciate that. the best option for replacement if you're going to do a medical support for it. That make sense? I'll cover pituitary support on another one. How can we be tested for the negative feedback loop thing? Well, that's a great question. Testing, I'll do another video on this again. I need to redo it. The testing that we use to check hormone production is a combination of blood testing and saliva. We actually do the testing. We've sent for the testing here, and we use saliva testing to be able to look and see what the hormones are doing during the month and see what's happening. Depending on what thing isn't firing well, tells me whether it is a pituitary issue or an organ issue. Does that make sense? And so that's what we look at. Great questions. Okay, so I'm going to cut it off so don't go too long. And so I'm going to do other videos. I'll break it down into each of the individual hormones. And so what I want you guys to do is just watch this, share this. We're going to do each of the different hormones. And I'll talk about supporting the systems. We'll talk about a lot of that stuff. PTSD after affect hormones? Absolutely. PTSD will drive your estrogen through the roof. There you go. All right, you guys are fantastic. Love you. Thanks for digging in. Thanks, Brandy, for getting on. Lisa, love you. You're awesome. Kelly, you guys get in there. We can talk about kids and hormones again. I will go back over that because it's a huge topic, and I love it. All right. Remember, health is simple, but it is not easy to make it happen. There's a simple step to make sure that your body's functioning at 100%. Start at step 1. Keep giving the body what it needs, and it'll do what it's created to do. Take care. Have a great day.